According to Wikipedia, a classroom or schoolroom is a learning space in which both children and adults learn. Classrooms are found in educational institutions of all kinds, ranging from preschools to universities, and may also be found in other places where education or training is provided, such as corporations and religious and humanitarian organizations. The schoolroom or the classroom provides a space where learning can take place uninterrupted by outside distractions. But don't you know that there are a lot of types of classroom according to the curriculum it follows and to its organizational setup?
Multigrade, multi-age, and composite classroom. But the question is, what are their differences? Let's find out. Multigrade,
Multigrade, we have already defined as a class of more than one grade level taught by the same teacher in the same room, but it is the way that the students are taught and the organization of the teaching program that differs.
multi-age,
It means that in one classroom, students may be different when it comes to their age.
there can be a wide range of ages in any one class, varying by quite a number of years sometimes. In the traditional class, all students in the class will be working on the grade curriculum despite their age differences. In this sense, the teaching is also syllabus-driven, as there is no special consideration for the differences in age or ability. Composite classes.
Composite classes are two or more classes working in the same room with one teacher but usually with separate programs.
For example, the grade 4 will be following the syllabus for their grade, and the grade 5 likewise. The curriculum is still structured and taught strictly in separate grades. This sort of teaching is syllabus-driven, the teacher sticking rigidly to the curriculum for that level. But
In one look, we can easily classify this as an example of a classroom, wherein a teacher is standing in front of the students. Pupils are actively listening to their teacher. They are having some activities, and they are participating in the lesson actively. But wait a minute. Try to look closely. It seems like the students are arranged in group and they seem to have taken turns in the lesson. So this is what we call a multi-grade classroom. And here are some of the examples. Let's now define the difference between a single grade classroom and a multi-grade classroom.
Maybe you have heard about schools in other parts of the world changing from a traditional one-grade classroom to a multi-grade classroom. But what is a multi-grade classroom and how does it work? Basically, in a single-grade classroom, all the students in the classroom are of the same grade. First grade, second grade, etc. But in a multi-grade classroom, there's a mixture of 2, 3, or even 4 grades in one classroom. So first grade, second grade, and third grade are all in the same room with one teacher. But how does that work on a given school day? How does the teacher teach all the classes to all the grades? Well, let's take Jimmy as an example. Jimmy is in 4th grade in a multi-grade classroom and learning about magnets in science class. In a multi-grade classroom, Jimmy and the other 4th graders are combined with 3rd grade and 5th grade for science. They are all learning about magnets. Now, the topic of magnets can range from simple ideas to a more advanced understanding. If Jimmy does well in science and is able to move on to a more advanced understanding, He can group with other students who are at a similar level and continue to explore and learn about magnets. It might be with other 4th graders. It might be with 3rd or 5th graders. Jimmy doesn't feel trapped by only learning what a 4th grader should know. On the other hand, if Jimmy needs more instruction to grasp the simple ideas, he can have that extra time with similar students. It doesn't matter if they are younger or older than Jimmy, because they're all in the same classroom. The following school year, Jimmy does not have the same unit on magnets, but now learns about a new concept. Jimmy can enjoy learning about science because the teacher is providing a more individualized instruction to what Jimmy needs. But some classes need more individualized attention and instruction. Take, for instance, math. Now, in a traditional 1st-grade classroom, Jimmy might be in a classroom of 30 other 4th graders all learning the same math concept. Uh-oh, where did Jimmy go? Jimmy might get lost in the crowd. But in a multi-grade classroom, Jimmy has 4th grade math with a much smaller group of 4th grade students. With this student-to-teacher ratio, Jimmy's teacher can simplify the math instruction to meet the individual student's needs. This means a much shorter math class, as the teacher then moves on to teach another grade level. During this time, Jimmy is able to practice the concept he learned through homework, and also use technology to give him opportunities to practice previous concepts and challenge him to learn new concepts. If Jimmy does very well in math and already has a good knowledge of 4th grade topics, Jimmy can easily be moved up to a 5th grade math class. Jimmy is receiving more individualized instruction in math. These teaching models apply to other classes like reading.
But now, let's think about when was multigrade classroom introduced in the Philippines? In the Philippines, the first mission schools were organized as multi-grade schools. Single-grade schooling was introduced during the early 1990s by the Americans. Multi-grade schools were organized as matter of necessity for remote barangays. Aside from the limited enrollment, the distance of barangay to school, teacher shortage, lack of funds for school buildings, and other facilities led to the organization of multi-grade schools in the different parts of the country. These have been adopted for over a century, a reality based on geographical and economic necessity for many countries in the developing world. Numerous studies compared the effectiveness of open classrooms or multi-grade organization with student-centered ethics and methods, and regular classroom single-grade organizations with traditional ethics and methods. Many teachers, administrators, and parents continue to wonder whether or not multi-grade organization has negative effects on students' performance. But it does not.
We have looked at how a multi-grade classroom works, but why would schools offer this type of educational setting, and what are the benefits to the students? The most noted benefit of a multi-grade classroom is that this setting allows students to learn from other grades. Younger students will overhear lessons being taught to older students. As they are listening, 2 items are happening. One is they are prepping their minds for future instruction. The other is the student develops a natural inclination to want to know more. A challenge to continue to learn about more difficult concepts. Take Jimmy as an example. He is hearing about the concept of multiplication before he would in a regular 1-grade classroom. By listening, he is already picking up the basics of how multiplication works. When it is time for Jimmy to learn multiplication, he already has a basic knowledge and is ready to grasp a deeper understanding of this concept. There is also a benefit for the older students. These students who may have struggled with multiplication will overhear the lessons being taught to younger students. This allows the older students to review and reinforce basic concepts without embarrassment. Another benefit of multi-grade classrooms is the positive social climate and behavior. As interaction with other age groups is fostered, children's social behavior develops earlier with increased ability and increased social skills. When a student walks into a multi-grade classroom, they will see many differences among all of the students as they are all students of varying ages. Therefore, there are very few negative attitudes towards differences and much more towards acceptance. This eliminates a large reason why bullying takes place in schools. The multi-grade classroom is also a natural extension of life in the real world. Very rarely in the world do people work solely with others of the same age and ability level. Our children will work in an environment where they will need to communicate and work with others of varying ages and abilities. Very similar to a multi-grade classroom. The multi-grade classroom is also an extension of home life. The students are using the same social skills they would use at home as they interact with students of different ages, similar to siblings. It fosters sound relationships at home while maintaining a very family-oriented setting. Another benefit is the lengthened teacher-to-student relationship. In a single-grade classroom, the teacher only has 1 year to get to know Jimmy, and then Jimmy is off to the next teacher. This is very little time to get to know the student and how each student best learns, which means less time to individualize the instruction for each student. In a multi-grade classroom, the same teacher instructs Jimmy for 2 or more years, meaning that the teacher is given greater time to get to know Jimmy individually to know his strengths, weaknesses, and learning habits. The teacher is able to plan lessons that they know will engage the student because they have had more time to build a teacher-to-student relationship. All of this increases the quality of education the student receives. In closing, there have been vast studies on multi-grade classrooms that indicate that students in multi-grade settings perform as well or better than students in single-grade settings. Studies also clearly indicate that there are many social and psychological benefits from multi-grade settings.
But why do we need to teach multigrade? First of all is that at one level, multigrade teaching is an important and appropriate way to help nations reach their internationally mandated education for all targets and National Millennium Development Goals.
It is through providing good quality education to children, who are often neglected by their education system, because they live in small, poor, and remote communities. The approach being used is known as multi-grade teaching classes of students, not only of different ages and abilities but also at different grade levels. In many countries, however, not only in Southeast Asia, but in many parts of Europe, North America, and Australia, multi-grade teaching is the first choice for managing a classroom.
Second is it helps children, especially those in remote and isolated areas, realize their right to education and therefore learn what they need and want to learn.
This will give them the chance to learn, even if they live in far places, thus helping them not to be left behind.
Third is it is a cost-effective approach to providing schooling to children often excluded from your education system.
This can save the money of the government from building new classrooms for every grade.
Fourth is
It
it encourages children from different backgrounds to learn with the help of their peers and therefore promotes cohesiveness, cooperation, and healthy competition among students, strengthens interpersonal and leadership skills, and develop a positive attitude towards sharing.
This will help the learners develop their social skills in dealing with people, and even to solving social problems or conflict.
Fifth is it benefits you as a multigrade teacher by helping you to plan your work better and be more efficient in your use of time.
This will help you out professionally, as you improve yourself in dealing big differences and become more competent in managing your time.
Through the variety of teaching practices used in multi-grade classroom, it contributes to your students' cognitive development.
The students are engaged in different classroom and teaching strategies of teachers. This will enhance the students to easily measure themselves mentally and improve it gradually as they become more oriented about it.
So once again, a multi-graded classroom is a classroom setup which composed of different learners from different level learning in one place or in one setup. So there are a lot of benefits of multi-graded classroom, not just in learners but in the teachers as well. And in the Philippines, this is most especially used in remote barangays when they are when there is a lack of manpower such as teachers and educational resources. So this is just the multi-graded classroom is just the way of some nations to fulfill their mandated law, which is an education for all. So do you now realize how beautiful a multi-graded classroom is? So So I hope you learned something from my feature story. This is Eunice Dracaris from BE at 3A. See you around and till next time. Have a great day!